particular days where they were functioning as the carry. We've had Slissa had a triple top 4 day. We had Bill absolutely destroy Europe earlier on today. We've seen Collins winning multiple lobbies, and we've seen Dog putting in the numbers as well. China has been a little bit more Island Cat and supporting cast with the way that things have gone so far. It's not to say that the other members haven't put in some big results, but it has seemed to be pretty evident who the star of the show is at the moment. But all of the other members have shown enough to me to prove their potential and that they could be serious threats to this America's lobby, especially, as you were saying, with that first lobby the last time they met in the round robin portion, where they did manage to destroy America's over the course of one lobby.
Yeah, I knew this was coming in the bottom left. PF, I think we've seen him on Crag before in such an awkward, awful selection of picks, and he's on Crag again. And I think also that PF might be the player that needs to up their game just a little bit. If there is a weak link, he's felt like we haven't said his name much in the later stages of these lobbies, so starting him on Crag might be a bit of a tough one.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree with that one. We're taking a quick zoom on the bans, picking up Demons, Mechs, and Murlocs for our first lobby. So one of those real power rewards for those triples into Tavern 4 minions is gone with the Mechs, those big old tempo boards that we've been seeing from the Meccano tanks. But there is still plenty of win conditions left hanging around with the way these bans are broken down.
We've seen Panda quite a few times. We see Tao Tao here. Is Token a really big deal on Panda because of the variable hero powers? Does it give you a lot more versatility, or is it just a normal token like any other hero?
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? Because it depends massively on your turn 1 hero powers and your turn 2 hero powers, right? If you're going to hit something like Rafarm hero power, for example, on turn 2, Rafarm is a hero that doesn't need a token on 1 because of the way Rafarm curve works out. But I think having the extra gold on average gives you a little bit more flexibility to make hero power plays off on a greater range of hero powers with Panda. But it also increases the likelihood that you get baited and do something stupid, because I think that's one of the hardest things with Panda, is avoiding this trap that you have to use the hero power you've selected on any turn that you take it. And the more gold you have to play with by potentially selling tokens away, the more tempting that becomes in some positions to go for a cheeky Yasharaj hero power or something that you've been taken, even though it ends up being a really stupid idea, having to sell away 2 gold to do that.
Really want to see what Cookie held there. Island Cat with the double Acolyte and a mate. Yeah, Collins held the Acolyte against the double Acolyte Rafarm there. The Acolyte probably the best pair to have as Rafarm at the start of the game, just because you're looking for those triples into 4 or triples into 6, maybe with Island Cat. I'm just not going to rule that out. And
yes,
Collins avoided it at source.
Statistically, it is slightly more likely that your opponent is a China player than an Americas player, right? It's not a straight 50-50 as to whether you would be helping or hindering your opponent in that position, or helping or hindering your own cause by giving them a very powerful minion in the Acolyte. But when you take Collins out of the equation, there are 4 China players and 3 Americas players that he could queue into in that position.
Yeah, and Crag's in for a bit of a shocker. Having seen Rafarm win that last fight, he's going to get murdered by Cookie on turn 3, which is not normally a surprise, but he'll be thinking he has a chance. He does have a chance. He does not dying too hard. That's how it's going to be, I'm afraid, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. What's Collins working out? He's so animated. Right, La 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 on the Diablo with the tempo minions going into the next turn. We did see earlier today Collins play this hero and just go to 3 and rely on the 5/5 to do some work for you. And I think that worked out quite well in the end for Collins, but La 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 taking the full tempo route, just going to make sure he gets every single one of those. And importantly, what you've talked about a lot in this tournament, he has the taunt to protect the 5/5. Not the best taunt, but a big taunt.
Yeah, a very short-term taunt, one of the shortest-term taunts available, because it's quite rare that survives one attack, because after it gets attacked, obviously it attacks into something else, and then generally your opponent's next attack is going to have free reign on the board. Tao Tao taking things a little bit slower with Nguyen up until this point, just going to the Tavern 3. Again, Nguyen curves are very much dictated by which hero powers you do get offered. Sometimes you're going to play a shiny curve. Sometimes you'll end up something more akin to Jeeve curve, where you're leveling to Tavern 2 on turn 3. Sometimes you'll just get the kind of hero powers that support you power leveling. I think personally, one of the most hilarious things to do is when you play shiny curve. So it's the curve where you look to double level on 7 gold. And then on that 7 gold turn, you get offered Omu hero power, which is just the absolute nuts.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be really funny to see. I do want to just stress that China are the host broadcasters, so there is no surprise they are concentrating on these early stages on their own players. We have seen them be very neutral as the games progress, though. But obviously, the Chinese audience in particular will be interested in seeing their players, and that is what happens with a foreign language cast.
Triple into 4 here from Slissa. Still another pair available with the remaining Swabby, but Promo Drake was certainly not the win condition she would have been looking for here, so she is going to have to try and find some additional support, try and turn some of that Zyrella 2-mana Biominion into some tempo to actually probably get her up to Tavern 4 manually and start looking for win conditions all over again if she's not able to hit that Swabby triple on the next couple of rolls on the next turn.
Just to be clear here, that's just a 5/5, right? I mean, she's not looking. She'll take it how it goes if she sees one, most likely. But this is just the biggest thing in the shop for this turn.
Yep. Yeah, it was just tempo. She missed, basically. She didn't hit any of the stuff she really wanted to hit, which was the scaling minions, the avenge minions, that kind of thing on Tavern 4. So she's just taken 5/5, give +1/+1 to 2 minions for the course of the fight here. So it's a good amount of tempo for the turn.
A look at what Bill's got going on with Eudora. This is going to be fascinating. It's sort of exactly a Bill kind of setup as it happens. Obviously, he had no control over it, but...
He first tripled into Gambler? Are you kidding me? I didn't even notice that.
And got Mama Bear with it.
That's so sick. Yeah, turning into the Mama here is a big deal. Picks up Hydra as a matter of good order as well. Now, I'll be very curious as to what happens with this last remaining goal, because I think more and more as time has gone on with Eudora, the better players are starting to say, I'm never pressing this hero power again at this point. I'm just going to play max tempo. And yes, you see Bill there had a perfect interval where he could have held the 6 gold and just pressed the hero power and started to build up for a second golden further down the line. Instead, he chose to break that interval, sell out his 6 gold, play for high tempo, skip the hero power this turn. Generally, that is the philosophy that more and more good players are swapping towards now, where the first triple is just what you're playing the hero power for, or the first golden minion is just what you're playing the hero for. From that point onwards, you just ride the tempo you get off that, and you forget about the second golden.
Yeah, and I think even if you attempted to go for the second one, look at the lobby. There's a Diablo, there's a Panda, there's a Refarmed. You're not going to get the chance to get to turn 10. In somewhat of a more rumbling lobby, maybe you'd consider it. But yeah, absolutely happy with that choice.
Recycling Wraith is available. Again, it's not one of the premium win conditions that you can take here. It looks like he is just going to go Argus, in fact, however. Looking to... I guess, okay, he's taunting up his 2 Goldens, trying to give them a little extra bit of stats. This is going to allow him to hold on to those 2 Goldens for a little bit longer than he might be able to otherwise. But I think Collins ran into a bit of a no-time chat on that one, and because of it, there is a 3.5% chance that he's not going to be dealing any damage to the Gallywix soon. A couple of blood gems not used.
Yeah, looking around as well, he and Island Cat both have a chance of getting some sort of avenge things going on, but they have nothing of the avenge in sight right now. And Island Cat is down to 12. Which is a big deal, because I think Island Cat, if China are going to win this, I would be very surprised if China win this and Island Cat doesn't have a major part in it, just from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. Again, limited assessment. We're dealing with small sample sizes, but that has absolutely seemed to be the case so far. He has very much been the star of the show and won a few hearts, certainly on the virtual casting desk as well, because he does tend to play in a way and favour comps that I tend to favour as well. He has been one of the few players in the tournament overall that I would say has gone for big, high-risk comps at all cost. I think a lot of the other successful players have been successful by playing kind of safe with tempo and mechano tanks and sticking to lower tiers in certain positions and just trying to consolidate themselves into a good position. Island Cat has just gone for it every single lobby from what we've seen so far and done so very, very well.
I feel like the equivalent on the Americas team is basically Collins. He's the other one who just likes to press the tavern button. First look at Dog's board. There's a lot to take in on this board. He seems to have all angles covered already in various different comps. He's going to have to pick one at some point, but for now he's looking fine with that double triple. Does that work? Yes, double triple is a phrase that I can use. Locked in on the board. Yeah. Will he be okay with 5s, or will he be super greedy here? He's down to 19. I guess it depends how much gold he's actually got next turn.
It depends on gold, yeah. And I was about to say that's the one potential large issue with his Gallywix board right now is at this point with Gallywix, ideally you would like to already be into a comp that rewards you cycling minions through your board, right? Elementals, Brand Menagerie, Brand Murloc, something like that. Something where you are incentivized to buy lots and lots of minions from the shop and actually get value out of them and sell them back. Because if you're not doing that, your hero power actually does very little. Your character does very little if you are not doing that very regularly. Oh, that's a lot of damage coming through. If this doesn't go left, it does go left. That is a huge final attack from Dogbear to save some health. Outside chance now that he has another loss in him this lobby.
Now, I am the one on lookout duty, not you, so you're less likely to know the answer to this than I do, but I don't think there's a light spawn. There's loads of 4s and 5s all over the place. There's loads of acolytes, but I don't think anybody's hit the light spawn in the whole lobby, which could mean that everybody is just messing around trying to make something happen here.
Yep, no, that's been my assessment as well. I don't think anyone has hit particularly hard. Dog ends up just going with economy there. If he'd had more health, I think it would have been... Oh! I was going to say, if he had more health, it would have been super interesting to see whether he just took a very hopeful Tony Two Tusk in that position and then just tried to look for hoggers off the other triple, right? Because that's exactly the kind of setup I'm talking about with Gallywix, where that's the build you want to get into. Dog, I think, on 9 health, and particularly on 9 health going into the Diablo boss fight, recognized he needed big tempo immediately, and that Tony was not going to provide that tempo, because even if he hit Tony plus Hogger, the one milking fight you need to transition into Golden Hogger would probably get him killed in the spot.
Island Cats, Acolytes, and his high main has paid off. He's hit a Nest Matron, but la, you're oohing. I can see why he's hit double Light Spawn.
Double light spawn indeed. Weirdly, he does have the light spawn first world problems where he's actually far too strong to be getting significant milk out of most of these situations, but double light spawn is certainly double light spawn at this point. He will absolutely take it here.
Yeah, he's healthy enough to be able to fiddle around a little to set some stuff up as well. He doesn't have to do what we've seen most people have to do in these very tempo-riddled tournament, where they've had to sort of just bail and take 13 elementals and hope it's enough. He is going to have a chance to maneuver a little bit, I think, here.
Yeah, and crucially, his actual live fight for the round, the one that his scaling is based on, is the fight that you're seeing on the left-hand side against Dog's board that we just saw. So Dog having that big Hydra, getting a big cleave, actually worked out pretty well for La, because it was one of the few players that was strong enough to likely make a significant impact. And Lorinda on the right-hand side, as I was talking about the left, we mentioned it. If China's going to do well, it probably means Island Cat has to do well, and Island Cat has kicked off this final lobby, or sorry, this final round, the first lobby of the finals, with an 8th place.
Getting the triple light spawn. That's going to be a big minion that he can use for some tempo. It's also going to free up a space so he can start to mess around and get some good stuff. Slissa has found the second light spawn, and she has got a lot going on this turn. This Hydra is going to be as gigantic as she wants it to be, with the 2 elementals in hand and the 2 Domus on the board.
Yeah, once again, the board for La is just not built for milking at the moment. He has got into a position where he is making individually strong, narrow boards with big minions at this point. Like, having just hit Golden Lightspawn and fighting against a Ghost, I'm sure he would have loved to just see Acolytes and small Death Rattle minions that he could throw out there to get some milk from that Golden Lightspawn, but he is very, very strong the way the one is panning out now.
Look at Slissa on the right-hand side. Look at this Hydra. It is ridiculous. She's actually quite weak on the rest of the board and unfavoured for the fight, but she's on 25 health. She does have the Diablo Sequel, which I don't think the deck tracker usually factors in as well. But she is able to add to this over the next few turns. And if you're going to be a one-unit player, having double Lightspawn as backup and a huge cleave is probably the way to go. Are you okay with the Hydra being in first position?
I think the Hydra first was fairly reasonable there, yes. But I think having the way this panned out, having her cleave go left was actually a really big deal. I think a cleave in a different position would have worked out very badly because Divine Shields would have then got value. But she still probably needed to win a very important 50-50 as to whether the cleave went left or right to get out of that one, even with the benefit of the extra demon from the Soulstone in the end. But that is huge for her. She does defend some health, but that is now Dog biting the dust on the Gallywix. I had my suspicions that that was coming soon. Busted Gallywix games are some of the most miserable feelings in Battlegrounds. If you just don't really get anything going, the hero just collapses like a flan in a cupboard, and that's exactly what has happened here to Dog as he goes down in 7th place. So that is Island Cat for China in 8th, Dog for Americas in 7th.
I have never put a flan in a cupboard. All right, Tao Tao has got this. I've used the phrase cobbled together. It's all I've got in my head. He's cobbled together something, and he has managed to get an Amalgad on the board. Does miss the perfect, but he only had 3 or 4 different tribes on the board to go with. But he's relying on this stupid 1826 Yoho Ogre at the top there that we saw right at the start, and things haven't really got much better for him since then.
What's Kurt Hennig got to do with anything that's going on, Lorinda? What are we talking about?
Oh, no. There's nothing perfect about this cast.
He just said he missed a perfect.
Did I?
Yeah.
I actually said those words out loud.
Yeah, she did.
Amazing. I have no idea what's going on anymore. It's fantastic. Right, Collins has finally got himself into a comp idea. He is going to end up with a beast with, just giant grubber as backup, because why not?
Yeah, and that's something he set up for earlier, as I was mentioning. He was just putting a few stats into those 2 small golden minions that he had with the Argus, the Blood Gems, a few other things, and it just allowed him to keep them hanging around for an extra turn or 2. Meanwhile, I look away from the left-hand side. I'd given up on the left, and Tao Tao absolutely scammed his way to a draw that keeps him alive as Panda. I think the tracker said 94% favoured to die in that position, and he found his way out of it with his last remaining 2 or so health intact. Really, really big deal for Team China.
PF with the 2019 comp. Bran, Light Fang, and some stuff. But that might be enough in this lobby, because at least it's doing something. A lot of the other players don't seem to be able to get anything going here of any significance. They're all playing the tempo minions they found, and even the people with the light spawns don't seem to be able to milk because of the way their board was before they found them.
Yeah, pair of recycling wraiths now for Slissa is a really big deal, not only because she can consolidate those 2 buffed wraiths into potentially one more huge triple, but once you have a golden recycling wraith on a normal hero, of course it works a little bit differently on Millhouse specifically, but on a normal hero, if you get that double wraith down in play, you are just playing the miracle turns at that point. Elemental gains you gold. Basically every elemental is free in terms of how much economy you get back from the rolls coming down. So when you have something that pays that off, like a Major Domo or a golden party elemental, or ideally a Lil Rag if you're all the way up in the lofty tier 6 tavern tiers, then you can start to make some real powerful things happen.
Really hope we get to see her next turn, because she's got 2 elementals, one of which is the stasis frozen in that shop with this board as well. She's got a chance of hitting triple cyclone. Even if she doesn't, she's going to use the double domo to buff things massively. And yeah, Panda is not standing up to that might. And Slissa looking to be a good position. Bill also looking to be in a pretty decent position with these monstrous mama bears now.
Yeah, and having not seen the cut at the end of Slisser's fight, we're being made to wait to see if the Panda scamming a tie, if Tao Tao scamming a tie on the previous round has actually helped improve his position from 6. But that is the news we will now get after this Bill fight. Bill dealing 11 damage to Collins on the Cook, and no, the scam achieved absolutely nothing for Tao Tao on the previous round. China is now going to go down in 6. So, for those keeping track, that is Tao Tao on Panda in 6. That is Dog on Gallywix in 7, and that is Island Cat for China on Rafarm in 8th.
Just want to draw your attention to La La La's board here, because there's a lot of very good minions and a bit of synergy there, but I don't know where he's supposed to go from here. What do you think? Where would he go if it was you in this position?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, because the only thing he has that is showing real promise in this position is the Wildfire pair, right? Like, yes, he has a Golden Light spawn, but he only has maximum 6 minions that are going to die on this board state, because nothing has Reborn or Death Rattle or anything like that. And even then, unlikely to happen because those minions are too big. So in terms of how to improve from here, he is a little bit tapped out. The Ground Shaker is looking a little bit surplus to requirements at this point. He's kind of just splashed Blood Gem synergy in there with the Charlie and the Ground Shaker. So he is a little bit stuck, but I would say Wildfire triple is probably the #1 way he can improve from here.
Yep, Cyclone might be a thing. He's not freezing the 24-25, so he's looking for other things. So Cyclone would be nice to go along with the little Ground Shaker combo he's got going on.
I think if he picked up a Cyclone, it might even just straight up replace the Ground Shaker at this point, just to have the raw stats on board at that point. But you are
quite a
absolutely
confident
right.
call, by the way, not to be overly bothered about the 24-25. I don't think he had the gold, I guess.
Yeah, I really like it. I think, as I was saying, there's very little way that he improves. Like, it's not... Lightspawn is not Nomi, right? That's a trap that you do have to avoid.
Yeah.
Where just, oh, I see an Elemental. I have to buy that Elemental because that's what playing Elementals does. When you're playing Wildfire, it's much more about looking specifically for those premium Elementals. But this all ends up being entirely irrelevant anyway, because he takes the fat L in the Diablo fight. He is going to go down. We'll see how many other players also bite the dust here. Just... yeah.
And that puts Americas in a reasonable spot. Things we've said a lot this week. It was looking sort of a bit balanced at one point there, but Americas have started to eke out an advantage now with the cookie just hanging in there turn after turn.
That's right.
We haven't seen Collins' board for a little while, but I don't think he had a whole lot going on there. It's just some tempo and don't die.
Yeah, but I think headline news now: 5th, 6th, and 8th for Team China, with only PF left alive, hanging around in that top 4 with the Crag. So PF is certainly going to have to make a run to first here if he's going to make this a competitive lobby for China. Otherwise, America's just be doing what America's do and winning Battlegrounds lobbies. And I guess that is a little sub-story that we have going on here. Is yes, there is a quest for Americas and China just to win this whole tournament, and that is the primary concern. But Americas also have an undefeated Battlegrounds record to defend, which I'm sure they will be looking to do as well.
PF does have the Frozen Snake in the shop alongside the Mayaxa. They came in the same shop there, so he will be able to sell out of the Light Fang next turn and get some better poison. He can sell out the brand depending how the shops go, I guess, but the other way seems more logical at the moment, with improvements to his other minions being a bit slow from the Light Fang now. Did
he actually just roll into late game starter pack?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I love it when that happens. Just one roll. Oh, the perfect stuff. Thank you, Bob.
Yep. Well, that's my decisions made for the week. Takes down one of the poisons from the side with the Hydra as well. That's a big role in the context of this 25% fight. But, as always, Sottle told you all about my beast disasters.
Yeah, this Hydra attack is going to be a big deal. This Divine Shield is going to be a big deal. Wants to go left, does go left. Absolutely insane attack on the Divine Shield, and that once again picks up a scam tie for the China team. Not as unfavored as the previous time that happened, but now PF actually gets to build into something somewhat exciting. 2 massive Divine Shields with a Bran and a Light Fang, and a reborn Myexna coming out to play. He is scaling very nicely into this late game top 4 showdown now.
I think if he hits an Amalgadon here, that could be a massive roll. Blast from the past, talk about Amalgadons on this sort of board, but with Bran and all the tribes, that would be a unit. That would just be a unit. Let's just stop
it would be an absolute unit, Lorinda. You are absolutely correct.
Okay, let's see if you can get a second Maexner or something to go with the second snake.
Again, it's just one of those turns. We talked about this before, gold intervals and breakpoints, right? He landed in a shop where it was the last shop he was going to be able to see and buy something from. The Rattler is a good minion that gives him good utility, good potential for the future. So he's deciding better to spend that 3 gold on a minion right now than just set 3 gold on fire, rolling for a point where I would have to freeze anyway, because rolling and freezing is always significantly more inefficient than some of the more casual players think it is.
Is this zap in an attempt to take down a Mama Bear? It's not going to work, by the way, because Collins, as always, has managed to make it so that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's always a little bit tricky to answer those questions without being able to see what the player is seeing when they mouse over the sides, right? Because that's where those decisions come from. But just looking at how this fight lined up, yes, he moused over the side. He saw that he was fighting against Beasts 6, I think that would have read as, right? Because of the Gold Grubber. If he didn't already have the information that the 7th minion was a Gold Grubber, he might even think that the 7th minion was a Baron in Beast 6, right? And then that's another reason why you want to be picking up the zap in that spot.
It's not going to work, though. He is going to survive, though, and he's got some stuff to work with. He's got a chance of rolling into some fairly good things, but he is getting behind. Obviously, again, Light Fangs, they just stop scaling these days in a way that is pretty abrupt when the other comps get going.
Yeah, meanwhile on the left, which we now pull onto main focus, Slissa is going to bite the dust here. She has been Walking Dead for quite some time because the Mama and Pale Scale on the right-hand side have had no chance of dying in this fight for quite some time. And that means that it's going to be Slissa going down in 4th place. So PF does march on to fight another day, looking for the big first place in this lobby, which keeps China a little bit more competitive with the dominance of Americas in this first lobby.
It's Collins and Bill again. I know that Slissa and Dog have both had great tournaments as well, but it does feel like Collins and Bill have been the ones really being... When the scores have been heavy, it's been Collins and Bill that have been the really heavy hitters in this particular tournament.
Reborn Maexner's coming out to play as well on Bill's side. Shake of the head, though, not finding these last rolls that he was looking for. Again, he's now in that gold interval position where he's looking at this shop, wanting to buy something from it because he wants to ship a minion out to get the snake through to give his Maexner reborn, but then he's in a position where he needs to find one more final minion to get back into play. Having a rat or a snake buffed by the Mama in play is not the worst thing in the world, but there are certainly improvements to that he would have liked to have made.
I'm just going to very quickly... Go, you go.
No, it's just the fact he rolled into the triple on the rat, but there's just no way on earth he could ever end up taking that because he needs that board space, and the rat was the minion that was going to be sold away to get there.
He's got the Hummel, but again, he's got no pair on the board apart from the Maexner, which he doesn't probably want to triple.
Right.
I only say probably there as a quick pause because I suddenly realised how much health they both had. And it just made me think, just for a second, that maybe he'd want a giant reborn Maexner, but looking at what he's up against in the lobby, that's just absolutely not enough health.
Yeah, I suspect Bill will take the Hamul next turn, again sell the rat that he sold on this turn just to make the board space, and then look for just another Rattler rather than a triple to give the other Maexner itself reborn.
Could be a team kill here. Reminder, they don't know who each other are, and it looks like Collins is going to survive this anyway. He's quite a way in front. But if it had been a team kill, PF would have limped up into another position with the Crag.
I mean, it can still be a team kill the other way, and it is a team kill the other way with the drops from the Mama Bear coming through. 11 damage going down to Bill, and that means Collins is going to march his way up into the top 2 situation with PF on Crag, Lorinda. And you set it up at the start. You said if China are going to do anything here, they're going to need PF to do something, and it looks like PF on that Crag might be struggling. Well, what do you have to say now?
Well, he's doing quite well. Nope, absolutely brilliant to see it. And it's looked quite a smooth ride as well when compared to some of the other people in the lobby. But Collins, once again, he won at least 3 lobbies in a row over the course of 2 matches. I'm pretty sure I've missed a win out there somewhere as well. He's just been in every heads-up situation, it feels like.
Yeah, he has absolutely slayed so far this tournament. I did have the honor of casting some Battlegrounds with Collins in one of the earliest invitational events that we did do for BGs, and it was great to just sit alongside him, pick his brains, get his insights on some of the things that he was looking for and talking about in those spots. He's very much a modern-day Renaissance man in that he spreads himself quite thin between a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different games, but he's one of those people that just seems to excel in whatever he wants to put his mind to. Excellent arena player in the past, leaderboard player in Mercenaries when Mercenaries came out, former rank 1 in Battlegrounds as well. Like, he is a multidisciplinary beast.
Yeah, and there's a stage earlier when, before they knew what the ruling was going to be on Frozen, Collins just decided to learn Frozen's decks. And we're talking about like a 90 minutes notice here that this might happen. And just decided to learn Frozen's decks in Mercenaries just in case. I don't know anybody who can learn a Mercenaries deck in 90 minutes to have the confidence to go up against the best players in the world with it, but that's what he was doing at that time.
Full value from the Golden Mama, but still infinite stats still left remaining over on the other side, and these Myexners are still getting to swing. That is 3 minions biting the dust at an absolute bare minimum. Pale Scale goes left, which means that is going to be, at least 14 damage coming through. Last time I checked, that's significantly more than the 3 required to end the lobby. And PF does do what PF needed to do in that spot. China, the rest of China, all fell by the wayside very, very quickly, leaving PF having to pick up a win to keep China competitive in this final. Once again, he won't have known that. Identities are anonymous in this lobby. Streamer mode is on, skins are disallowed. Anything that the players can do to identify themselves to their teammates as to what they're playing is illegal under these tournament rules. Basically to force everyone to play normally. No collusion, no collaboration, no forcing ties with your teammates, no communication, no handing minions over to a Refarm or a Tess or anything like that in this situation. Just straight up classic Battlegrounds. So that means PF will only now know the full extent of how important that victory ended up being, as the rest of his China compatriots did not manage to get too many points on the board.
Yeah, and of all the other teams in this tournament, and there have been some stronger teams in this tournament, strong-ish teams in this tournament, I think that China are the ones who won't be too upset by being a couple of points behind at this stage against Americas. Like, it just feels like America's going to win every lobby, and if you're 2 or 3 points even behind after one, it's like, oh, now we've got to win by even more. But China do have that capability to just go 1, 2, 3, 5. They've done it before. 1, 2, 3, 6. They've done it before. And Americas will have to be on their top game to make sure that does not occur, because China are very dangerous. This was without Island Cat having a game. I mean, he had a game.
Yeah, he really didn't.
Awful one.
He really didn't. He absolutely did not get started in that lobby whatsoever. Had a Refarm and had one of those top 8 Refarm games, which, Lorinda, I know you are a big fan of. I have never seen you trying to learn anything give you as much as frustration as trying to learn how to play Refarm. And Island Cat, I think, will be sympathizing with your struggles after that top 8 in lobby 1. But that is a big, big deal. That victory for PF means that is so much closer than it could have been otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. All to play for in this. Something I very quickly want to address, because we didn't do it at the start of the broadcast because we jumped straight into game, is Monsanto. The reason this whole thing is even relevant is because Monsanto has monstered his way through the Constructed every single time. I don't know the exact stats, unfortunately, but it's something like 12-2.
Yeah, not going to lie, I didn't get to watch the Constructed action because I did take a little bit of a nap in between the Battlegrounds lobbies, but hearing that Monsanto did absolutely stomp once again, as he has been doing, does seem like he's been a carry for that America's Constructed team, and it's something that we have talked about as well. where a lot of the onus, a lot of the attention, a lot of the hype has been put onto the Battlegrounds team for Americas. They're getting a lot of credit for the success, and I think fairly so, but you are absolutely right to splash some of that praise around everywhere else, with Frozen and Luna doing a good job for the Mercenaries team, and Monsanto in particular, alongside Ney and now Gudan, putting up huge numbers for the constructed team as well for Americas, which perhaps you wouldn't have expected the way things are going.
We're straight into lobby number 2, and let's have a look around. There's a Cookie, there's a Finley, so we have to look again. There's a Reno, so we have to wait to see what happens, and probably a Mutinous. Depends what's in the lobby. There might be a scammy Vol'jin turn up.
Yeah, again, very dependent on tribes in. He does go Vol'jin, which is very interesting. Liking the look of these heroes, at least the ones that are already locked in for Americas, just a little bit better right now. Sneed for Slisser, very reliable top 4 hero. Hooktusk for Dog, very reliable top 1 hero. Bill picking up the Refarm, looking to undo some of the damage from the previous lobby, and then Scamzarak taken on the bottom left as well, which is another extremely reliable top 4.
You saw Collins' face there. He's got to do the thing you've talked about today. He's got to look himself in the mirror tomorrow and say he played Secret Guy. And that's the words he will use.
Okay. Wait for it. Is La 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 a do the thing gamer? We did see one person be a do the thing gamer earlier on, and it looks like there is not going to be a Cell hero power, which is the decision I do like to make in this spot as well. But I think with someone with a Celemental and Sneed earlier, we did see by Celemental Cell Celemental hero power the Celemental, but La 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 begs to differ. Goes wide-eyed for a second there as he hits the 1-4 on the Cook on the other side, one of the few things that the Murloc token loses to in the early game.
Yeah, I think it can be a mistake, personally, with Sneed if you load up early on at the cost of other things. Sorry.
This hero, just every time you cut to Hooktusk's perspective in a token lobby, they're just having a totally normal one, just being stronger than everyone else, printing gold at will. Like, if anyone wants to argue that Tokens Hooktusk is not the best hero in the game, like, you don't deserve to play Hooktusk. That is the basic rule of engagement here.
And I think of all the players possibly in the entire tournament, Dog's the person that I just associate most with converting these sort of starts. When it comes to sort of just being technically great and just using lots of money to do things and not making mistakes in those situations, I think Dog, the amount of times he's streamed things like this because it's funny to watch, has just made him incredibly smooth on this sort of hero.
Yeah, annoyingly, that's somewhat disappointing when you're playing Hooktusk. Celemental is a little bit more awkward to use than straight-up classic tokens are. Usually a double Celemental shop is every hero's dream. They're still really good, and I'm sure Dog will end up taking them. And because they're actually on the 5 gold turn, the interval actually works very, very nicely for Dog to be able to get 1 gold back and then cycle that water droplet into a pair while leveling on Jeef curve with this board and a triple already banked. Hooktusk, and everyone.
Just gonna make that even worse. There's elementals and mechs in this game.
Yep, so it will be level play next turn. Pirates are out, so the consolation prize that I was referring to earlier is not there because it's a token triple, right? So if you miss on the elementals, you can sometimes pick up a gold grubber. That makes you strong enough for a few turns to be able to build into a comp. Basically, exactly what Collins did in the previous lobby, right? Use the strength of a gold grubber, a gold Bruce Grobbler to build into a beast comp instead.
Sleep, ladies and gentlemen. Right, so Telltale has for Vol'jin, I know he's still on 40, but it's a very scuffed looking board. It's not gone anywhere yet, but I know it's only turn 3, he'll be fine.
Yo!
Yeah, don't pretend to think about it, Dog. Come on, just make money and things.
This hero. It's amazing with the amount of like Money Hook Tusk just prints for herself that she hasn't collapsed her own economy yet. I'm not sure this is working as intended.
But la. I mean, I'm going to underestimate his board every single time because Sneed things, but it's just not getting it. I guess double spawn is still a thing that keeps you alive even in this day and age.
Looks like La 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 is playing... we had a little debate over what to call this, like Toki curve, I suppose, Yasharaj curve, something like that. It's basically what he will have gone for here is leveled on either 4 or 5 gold, depending on how much he paid here. I'm sure I could work it out if my brain wasn't quite so addled by lack of sleep. But then he's going to be using level and hero power, so he just essentially he's bought another 2-drop by hero powering his spawn in that position. So yes, now there are 2 2-drops popping out of that. What he's done is leveled on 4 gold, bought a 2-drop and hero powered on 5 gold, and then leveled and hero powered on 6 gold. Now he will hopefully proceed to buy a Tavern 3 minion from the shop alongside something else, buy 2, hero power again on this turn. It's a nice balanced way of playing the hero. Some people choose to play Refarm Curve, staying lower with the hero, getting a lot of tier 1 tokens generating on the board. Other people like to go 3-on-3, 4-on-4 straight away and start hitting those high value death rattles right away. That Toki curve, kind of in the middle ground, is actually what I've had the most success with doing with the hero. I think it's a very nice balanced middle ground that gives you the ability to be flexible in a couple of directions.
And when do you choose with Sneed sort of which curve you're going on? Because it feels to me like a very react to what you see hero. Like, depends exactly. If you see a good couple of minions on 6 in the shop, you just buy them because you don't really need to put the death rattle on. And if you see average stuff, then you've got to change accordingly.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, the curve decision is made as soon as you see what first minion you have in your shop, right? If you hit token minion, then you can start thinking about 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 as to whether that's a thing you want to go for. If you don't hit token minion, you are going to be looking at that Toki curve I described. Or if you like the look of your first shop, like for me, if the first shop is a freeze, then you can start thinking maybe about Refarm Curve Sneed. But personally, that's not a thing that I favor too much. In terms of working out what your comp is, yeah, for me, just buy the powerful things that have a lot of stars on them and put your hero power on them, and then just buy time doing that until you can work it out by seeing something in the shop that's a genuine win condition.
I'm going to further pick your strategical brain in a second, because Island Cat on Reno has the Avenge set up, apart from any Avenge cards, but importantly, he has a triple locked in the shop. So I'm curious, is it just go for 4 and be safe? If you hit, you've got a great golden, or is there more? Can he go for more stuff here, with Reno being pretty good on 5 drops in general?
Yeah, obviously there is some benefit for Reno to go for higher Tavern tier triples because, you know, with a lot of heroes, if you miss on the higher tier triples, you kind of resign yourself to death against someone who's playing more tempo focused on a lower tier comp. Reno just being able to golden some 6 or 5 drop usually works out pretty well. I will say in this lobby with what I believe is Beasts banned, that is a little bit scarier to go for a higher tier triple.
Oh, and
so I would
Pirates.
imagine... yeah, and Pirates as well. So even like the Eliza situation, for example, is not going to particularly get there, but he's a long way from getting all the way up to 6. But I think sometimes 5 is a bit tempting when Mama is in, because Golden Mama on Reno is a basically secure top 4 if you're able to hit that. So with all those things considered, I think Island Cat does absolutely the right thing here. Just goes for the 4, but... now your little greedy brain is telling you stories about whether or not you need to use this hero power on this turn, because you should, keyword should, be very, very strong this turn with the amount of death rattles and reborns that you have alongside a tank. So you do have the option to be greedy there and actually look for a bigger win condition, because you have a top 4 condition with a golden tank. That will carry you a very, very long way. Is it a win the lobby condition? Maybe not. So I think it'll be very interesting to see where Island Cat ends up.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to use that hero power this turn. He may not even use it next turn, depending how strong this tank is. He might go running all the way up the tiers, depending exactly what he runs into. 40 health, nice setup, tank in the bank if he does need to hero power. I think it might be a while.
The old tank bank, of course.
So, seeing exactly what we just described here, the multiple shots of the tank. At the moment, I'm still awake enough to understand how this card works. That's a really good sign.
He's evolving, chat. He understands.
For now. Ask me again next lobby. I might not know then. But yeah, he absolutely pays off. He's still on 40. I think we're going to see some Island Cat greediness. But somewhere in the background we haven't seen for a couple of turns is Dog on the Hook Tusk. And he's lost quite a lot of health. I suspect there's some terrifyingly good things for Dog occurring because he's on tier 4 and nobody else is.
I've wondered for quite some time what Tao Tao has been trying to do this lobby, because he picked Vol'jin in a lobby with no beasts. So, for example, the Vol'jin meme comp, which is actually genuinely quite strong if you get it together on Vol'jin, with the Parrot, the Death Rattle Demon, the Tarot-Gosa, the Baron. That's not available because he doesn't have the Parrot to be able to make that kind of stuff happen. So I've been somewhat wondering what his grand plan for Vol'jin was in this lobby overall, and now I look at his board 7 turns down the line. I have precisely the same question, Lorinda. I'm still not entirely sure what his grand plan is. Right now, he is trying to get carried by a Golden Spawn and a Baron, which is certainly a good chunk of tempo for quite some time, backing that up with the Soul Juggler, but certainly this is a very fight for top 4 kind of board right now.
Dog confirmed my suspicions. He had all sorts of money, a nest matron, and a load of milking going on at the start, but unfortunately for him, he took enough damage last turn to go down to 15, so he's had to put the brakes on just a little bit to make sure he doesn't die.
And he's got the cursed fight as well. Whenever you get in this kind of position where you're like, all right, I am at 15, but I probably shouldn't take 15 this turn. The one face you do not want to see on the other side of the board is that stupid grin from Sneed, and that is exactly what he's facing down here. But fortunately for him, Sneed is Omega milking on the other side with 1-drops, Icky Imps, Reborn, Death Rattles, and Impatient Doomsayer. This is the level of milking that I've been waiting for all tournament, Lorinda. Are there any milkers in chat? Who's with me?
There's quite a few going on. And also, notice Island Cat. He hasn't got a golden on the board. He's going to take some damage, and I doubt he cares.
Yeah, 40 HP with the Reno, tank defending as much tempo as humanly possible, looking to find a different win condition. Sneed gets damage capped by Dog, which we were worried about going the other way around, but that is a fight that the Sneed chose to lose with all willingness with the Impatient Doomsayer on the board. Impatient Doomsayer does not win the game immediately, but Island Cat is now going all the way up to Tavern 6, looking for the big money, and he does not find it. Those are very much medium potatoes this turn.
But he does have the chance to do the crazy thing, get the gold in the shop, get a 6-drop again next turn, and Hero Power another, like a second go at this. He's still on 29. He should be okay. Well, he is okay. It's damage capped at 15. Can he just do Murloc-related things?
Miscellaneous Murloc-related things, indeed.
And there's a very good chance he takes the full 15 if he gets greedy here. But does he care enough?
I mean, yes and no, and then yes again. He's fighting against the Sneed who we saw was incredibly weak on the previous turn. But the Sneed will not still be weak this turn because the Sneed is at 2 or 3 HP, right? So the Sneed will understand that they have to cash out and actually go into a much more powerful board in this spot.
Yeah, and he does actually defer to having to bail out. He's doing the full bailout, full tempo by taking the 6-9 and full tempo by finally and very resignedly making the tank golden.
Yeah, I think this is a smart decision. There's an opportunity to kill a player here. Again, functionally, there are 4 opponents and 3 allies that you could be queuing into in this point, so picking up a kill here is a small net positive on average.
I'm laughing at the Sneed. You talked about that being the milking board last turn. Look at it now.
Yeah, I mean, he's just replaced his milkers with bigger milkers, which is a reasonable thing to do in that position because he was nowhere near winning the game with what he had just with the Impatient Doomsayer. Impatient Doomsayer nowhere near the power level of card that it was prior to the initial nerf back in the Froggies plus Demons meta, where you really just went to Tavern 3, looked for one of those win conditions, and then rode it to the bank. But it's not going to matter. Sneed is going to bite the dust here.
PF on the cookie is full pew-pew there with jugglers and tanks. The thing we saw a lot of on days 1 and 2, and they were doing well in this sort of lobby. These are the sort of lobbies RDU was winning with gold and tanks everywhere. And I feel like China might just be in a pretty good spot overall here. And again, we haven't seen that much of Dog, but haven't seen anything great from the Americas side really building, and the Chinese team do seem to have a lot going on.
Finally, Island Cat looks at some things he'd like to golden for a win condition, but he is already well and truly tapped out on the Reno power, so he is just picking up a Fellbat just because it was the biggest initial tempo there.
La La La's got its decision time in a minute, because this is find divine shields, right? Just hope your Meckerel can carry you in the long run. In the short term, it's not quite so bad. Sort of taunt comp, survival comp right now.
Indeed, indeed.
What's Bill got going on? Oh, he's got every 6-drop win condition in the game and no synergy. Awesome. But a lot of money.
AKA the Lorinda comp, as it is known in certain circles.
Well, you taught me what the win conditions were. I'm like, yeah, I'll have some of those. I don't care that Caligos doesn't work with Bran. Well, it does work with Bran, but not if you've got no other dragons. I don't care. Give me that Imp Mama. Right, but Bill has ended up shifting into the Lorinda comp here, in fairness. Waiting to see what the next shot tells him his comp is. It's far different to how I used to get it wrong. He's got it right. Next shot, he should be able to form something out of this.
Yeah, most importantly, on a turn where he's still not massively strong, he has queued into this giant sack of nothing, which is the board on the other side that's just never really gone anywhere from the Vol'jin, still relying almost entirely on that spawn Baron synergy, which is something that is going to tap out very quickly indeed. But these hits are not it so far, but finally everything gets cleared up, and this is going to be a good chunk of damage going through to the Vol'jin. This is one of these unique scenarios, right? That Vol'jin is still at 40 HP in this lobby, but if you give me basically any other player's position, I would take it over where the Vol'jin is in this game.
Yeah, and we saw in Evelyn's Twitter clip.
I take it all back. Never mind. I want to be Tao Tao. I'm the Vol'jin. Give me Vol'jin.
Yes, suddenly one card makes quite the difference. How do you feel the nerfs changed this card? Because I didn't play much pre-nerf. I was still in Grandmaster's mode, but it feels like it shouldn't have made a difference, but it does seem like it's played a lot less than the games I was watching before the nerf.
It made an astronomical difference, yeah. The pre-nerf Omega Buster was Omega Busted. Like, in the way that we talk about Tier 4 Elementals just being the go-to thing now, in the terms that it's the first thing you check, right? You're picking your hero, the first thing you look at is whether Elementals are in, and then you pick the best hero to get triples into 4s. That's just what you do. That was the case previously with mechs. You looked at the lobby, if mechs were in, you picked the best hero at tripling into a 6 and tried to hit Omega Buster. It was just kind of out and away in terms of the highest power level overall. So yeah, very small nerf, very light touch nerf, but it did end up making a very big difference, a very comfortable nerf overall. And I do like this cute little swapperoo that Tao Tao's put together here, dropping the Omega Buster all the way down to 1-1, so that there is almost no possible trade that it can make without dying and getting the full value straight away here.
Looking at WTY's Bill's turn, he was presented with a whole bunch of elementals, so the decisions kind of made themselves in terms of that turn. He still hasn't got to finalise, am I definitely Little Rag comp, but it's looking like he is for the time being.
Little Rag?
Little I don't know. I just don't know anymore. He has to do something.
We'll have to see this Imp Mama put up a heck of a fight here, and it's not going to, because it's getting shot while the board is still full. This is going to be way too many pew-pews going over from the Reno side. Again, I think a very smartly played game from Island Cat on the Reno, right? You can see his tendency, you can see those fibers through his body coursing, wanting him to be as greedy as possible, but he also demonstrated that he did have control over that, picking the perfect moment to bail out and switch into a more tempo-focused strategy instead, and now he has been rewarded for that by a top 4 finish, an elimination of a couple of America's players, and a pretty comfortable-looking spot in the lobby, it has to be said.
And there goes Collins. The secret has already gone, so Dog eliminating Collins there. But to be fair, I think Dog might be, from what we've seen, the only really strong player from Americas in this lobby, and actually there's a few eliminations that turn.
There was, yeah.
Need to process very quickly who they all were, but let's have a look who's left, I guess. Island Cat and Dog. Great. I've been wanting to say that all tournament, and I did it by accident. It's the Cat versus Dog, the battle for the ages.
And Dog is chasing down Cat at the top of the rankings here, but as we all know, if a Dog ever did catch a Cat, they wouldn't know what to do with it anyway.
Absolutely. Let's find out if this Dog knows what to do. Well, we know this Dog knows what to do. In fact, to be fair, after the start he got, this is less than I expected him to have at this stage, but it's still a lot of Divine Shields, a lot of poison, and a brand chilling with loads of money. It's still fine.
It's very good, yeah. He is Amalgadon's away from really making this probably a top 1 comp in this position. And I think part of that underwhelming feeling is just you being reminded that Brand Menagerie just kind of fell off a bit, right? Like it's just not what it was a few months ago, but still he's doing fine. He has good Menagerie pieces, he has multiple Divine Shields, he does have poisons, but yeah, the one missing point that he needs to bring all this together is those Amalgadons that he's going to need to be looking for with triples or with Tampered 6.
Finley starting to accumulate those Divine Shields on this mech rule build. Only got the 2, but only needs the 2 for now to at least be alive. Most likely there's a small chance of death according to the stats. There's a bigger chance of death than I thought, actually.
Yeah, there is. And those trades actually worked out really, really nicely for Dog. Obviously, all of the annoying bumps into the scam mackerel had to happen, the mackerel being taunted, and then everything else with Divine Shield, just refreshing that Divine Shield. However, with the way Dog had lined up, he really did not lose that much value at all going into the Divine Shield over and over again. All of his minions actually value traded into that Divine Shield, which left him in a position where he's still very comfortably dealing with this spot. But there is still a possible Kinder Surprise here with how many minions are going to be inside these Death Rattles. Just the 1/1s from the Menace coming out there, which means Dog is going to pick up the victory on the Hook Tusk.
That was the most disappointing Death Rattle I've seen in some time on Sneak, because it was just the cards he put there. Right, down to the last 3, and China have 3 of the top 4 this time around. A very good chance if Dog can be eliminated for them to take the lead. But Dog doesn't look like he's going anywhere.
I can do a quick recap since we haven't covered it too much so far. That is Slisser for Americas on Sneed in 8th. That is PF for China on Cook in 7th. That is Bill on Rafarm in 6th for Americas. That is Collins on Scamzarak in 5th for Americas. And then that is La 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 for China on Finley, also a Sneed, in 4th for China. So, fairly alternating positions so far going up the leaderboards.
Trying to assess just how strong Tao Tao is here. It looks okay at a glance, and the more you look at it, the more it doesn't actually look that good when it's compared to these 2 players.
Island Cat getting the luxury of the ghost fight. He has converted very nicely here from his initial failures to find a big scalar win condition. Now found his way into Omega Buster, Divine Shield, and Baron as well. And Omega Buster does also have natural synergy with Tank, allowing that pivot point, that transition point from tempo board to win condition board, because Omega Buster itself, of course, does drop those multiple minions that you can use to get extra value out of those tanks.
Dog's still compiling. Right, this is going to be the key fight. It's going to be on the left-hand side.
Yes. It looks like Dog has done just about enough, especially now. That means that bomb on the far right is not going to be getting any value. Not as big a deal as it might be in some builds, because there is no repetition of the Omega Buster effect. No parrots, no Kangors coming out in this position. But if you want to be a glass half full kind of person, the fact there's no repetition of the Mega Buster effect is really, really good news for you, because it means that you do just have the raw numbers in play to have this covered, and Dog is going to lay the smackdown one more time, climbing back up, and it is, of course, the ultimate destined showdown now. Cat versus Dog for the top two for all the marbles in this lobby.
Not sure if it quite makes my list of funny name matchups, but it's close.
It's no meaty lasagna, I'll give you that. It's definitely not.
It's no Rage versus Machine. That's the
Raid versus the Machine is the all-timer. That is Hall of Fame first pick ballot for best matchup names in the history of Hearthstone.
Dog rolls the Amalgadon, and he has got the shield in the shop, but he's got to sell something, so that's going to be an interesting choice, and he does decide to get that sorted out immediately. Just have the Murloc on the board at the end of the turn for another poison as well. And this comp
this is
looks
fine, right?
pretty great, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he had a spare Murloc in hand, I think that was always going to end up being the right decision, because he can just fill out that Murloc. He has 2 Sephins. All one of them has to do is survive to give that final 2-3 poison. And yep, this is about the best Dog could do. And I would say this has been a poor Hook Tusk game. Like the game started well enough. You know, he started printing money, hitting triples, and so on. But in terms of what win condition he found a very, very weak one in comparison to what he could have done. But he has converted it very, very nicely indeed. Hook Tusk is just infinite cosmic power. And Dog is one of the best players in the world, I think, at converting those positions.
He bailed because he unluckily went to 15. He's on 15.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was going to go a little bit more greedy, hit 15 because he went from like 22 down to 15 in one turn. Had to do the bailout and still hasn't lost a fight since. Imagine being able to be greedy.
Yeah, no, true, because it looks now like he's finally hit his limit, because the scaling coming through here now, finally picking up the Kangors as well on side for Island Cat. Does Dog have one attack here that is able to go right? No, it's the Microbots attacking now, which means that delays things for way too long. This Baron is going to get full value off all of these Death Rattles. Poison getting traded down. This is looking worrying for fans of the Dog.
Worrying for fans of the Dog, but exciting for fans of, oh my goodness, this third lobby is going to matter so much.
Yes, it is.
And it looks like Dog's going down here, so Island Cat picking up another lobby win. So that rectifies his 8th place.
That's 14! That final attack has cut it down to 14, which means Dog has one more chance to make something happen here. And that Baron on the right is vulnerable. It is a 1/7 Baron. No buff has been put on the minion at this point, which means it is weak to what, Lorinda, as I look over to the left at Dog's hand?
Murlocs, no, Amalgadons, no, Imps, no, he's got the Zap, and that is going to be crucial. Island Cat will be aware of this, though. Is there anything he can do about it? I don't think there's any way he can buff it, or get a triple, or anything, or make something else small. Anything. And even the Kangors is second in line, right? If Dog goes first.
The Kangors is certainly second in line, yeah.
I think this is why Island Cat's deep in the tank is like, is there a plan that gives me a definite win? Or do I just have to hope that Dog didn't hit it?
Yep. I mean, there are ways that he can find a route out of this. He can find Spore, for example, is the go-to one. At least at that point, it's a 50-50. But what you see more and more players do now is take a break out when they know they're building into a Baron board to either, if Quill Balls are in, for example, buy some Blood Gems and put those Blood Gems on the Baron to the point where it does not fall victim to that exactly, or look for some kind of mid-game scaling with like a Green Thumb, for example, right? To pump the stats on the Baron a little bit with this kind of situation in the late game. 5, 6, 7, 8 turns down the line, have that stuff in mind. Island Cat did not have that luxury because he switched into Baron Buster very late in the game, right? So he hasn't had the opportunity to really get into that spot, and because of that, that is a huge win for Dog. But the 6-drop does bite the dust in the final attack, which means that is only 24 damage going through, with the Amalgadon getting poked away on the final attack. I think keeping Island Cat alive, because the alternative attack was to attack into the Annoyer module, right, which would have taken a 4-drop off the board, but replaced it with 3 microbots, which I believe are the death rattle on that minion. So I think that would have ended up being lethal in that spot if it had gone the other way around.
And now it's Island Cat's serve. Last time he had the luxury, or not luxury, but the opportunity to say, well, maybe the Dog hasn't hit the zap. Now he knows 100% that Dog did hit the zap, so he can react to that. It's not the easiest thing to react to without messing up his board too much, but he does have options available to him now. Or at least he's going to try and roll into options.
Amalgadon again, picks up Divine Shield again.
Double Spore.
All spores are in the house for Island Cat. Has to pick them up here. He knows it's the only real chance he has of taking this one down from this position. The only question is what goes down.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Just to note, the last fight was 63% to Dog, which I assume was almost all contained in who goes first.
Island Cat actually just goes past the Spore and says, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to attack first instead. JK, never mind. Dog gets the zap going first again. I think that is going to spell another lobby victory here for Dog.
Yep, Island Cat, they will have deck trackers, they are allowed. He will have been aware of the rough percentages. He would have reached that same conclusion. Well, if I go first, I probably win. If I mess up my build, maybe I never win. So let's just go with it. And he's fighting Dog, so he doesn't go first. To be fair, Island Cat has had his fair share of things go his right in those situations this tournament, so...
Yes, indeed.
Dog taking down a lobby, and we're going to have to wait and see what the points are on this one, because I feel like that lobby had players in all sorts of places. It wasn't the normal, oh look, they've won the lobby, or they've lost the lobby. There's a lot of weirdness in this one.
And there you see, with the eagle flying behind him, looking as majestic as humanly possible, animated Dog taking down the lobby, and that is going to put Americas into a very strong position now overall. That was a super close lobby. Alternating positions kind of being sharing out. Americas was in 8th, China was in 7th, Americas was in 6th, Americas was in 5th, and China was in 4th, and so on. So the winner of that lobby picking up the bonus point. There is one extra bonus point for winning the lobby. That going to the Americas player with Dog, I think, will end up being a very, very big deal with the way this goes down.
That is going to all come down to this, as they say in multiple sports and multiple commentaries, and I've always wanted to say it. So I'm going to say it again. It's going to all come down to this. The final lobby of the final match of the final everything in this extended tournament over the last few days. It's going to come down to one Battlegrounds lobby. So
it is.
It's your job,
indeed.
not mine, to say who's going to win this. I'm just the person who says things. You're the person who knows things.
I mean, again, the Americas team have just been such a consistent performer throughout this so far that I really, really hesitate to bet against them in this position. I do think they have looked the best. I do think they've had the best strength in depth overall. You know, if one player hits a top 8, there's someone else ready to step up and win the lobby. Points being shared around with a great ratio among the teams. So I struggle to look past Americas taking this one down.
Okay, could you just do me a favour, Salt? I know this is the hardest thing to ask any caster ever, but can you just talk for a moment, which is the hardest thing to do on demand? I need to check something.
I certainly can. Well, you know what? Instead of doing that, why don't we just take a very small break? Because I believe we're going to have a little bit of a delay, hopefully not too long, before we get into our final lobby. So, chat, I'm sure you are excited to see this conclusion to the Battlegrounds action. So please do not go anywhere. Keep the energy in chat nice and high, and we will be back as soon as we can to conclude the final China versus Americas.
好好学着点儿。
破坏系统上线，侦测到敌人。
干掉那家伙，我就给赏金。
哈哈，很好笑。
拔枪！刚才好险。
以太阳之名，
你的生命终结了。
你们无处可逃！
去死吧！
敌人大人必胜。
典狱长在寻找的被遗忘的钥匙，就藏在这座绝密之城中。我们必须抢占先机。
可信要岌岌可危。将见证我的胜利。
他们突破了后防，快撤！快撤！
四大盟约不能再和过去一样各自为政，我们现在必须团结，共同面对横跨诸界的黑暗。无论我们为何而生，无论我们为何而死，只要齐心协力，我们就能粉碎统御之链。
到此为止。
No mistake, war is coming.
I am the swarm.
Change drives me. We retake our homeworld.
Nice work. Maybe you should join me on a mission sometime.
Hell, it's about time.
Mordžići, morskio.
Get your blades ready. We'll need some mercs to do our dirty work. Are you up to the challenge? plan your next steps. This could be interesting.
These ones must pay a heavy price.
I'm warning you, insect. None can oppose me. We will not sit idle.
Try not to get yourself killed.
They will answer to me.
Be quick about it. I fear no demon. We do what we must. Tremble before me.
Good work out there.
Enjoy this spark of victory, mortal.
菲尔兄弟们，一起来！海浪冲刷，你别紧张，死亡狂境有魔法。
金地方光放开胆量，真理令它最响。我们四处望，海大出纳，带入碎片闪闪亮。谁叫我们练习小唱，全都让它唱一唱。
还有更多，正面想法很不错，海洋广阔，
太阳太多，让它痛快别错过。
还有更多暴风城的战火，还有更多要找个人掌舵。我们帮 backlift 报仇出气，我还能整个活。
整活？整的些什么活？你们这群废物，快去干活！小心我拿你喂鱼！不啰嗦。
随便来一波，世界一千多多，自我抓紧探索，出发！还有更多。
以太阳之名，
你的生命终结了。
你们无处可逃！
去死吧！
敌人大人必胜。
好好学着点儿。
破坏系统上线，侦测到敌人。
干掉那家伙，我就给赏金。
很好笑。
拔枪，刚才好险。
Commences in 5.
Let's light them up.
4. By the light. 3. 2. First blood. 1. Let the battle begin.
Hell
萨斯王子，很高兴见到，真是太好了。
寻找命运，命运自然会来找你的。
他们会后悔踏入灰谷的。
巫妖王赐予了我永生，绝不能释放那头怪物。
有时，所谓的命运要自己掌握。
你在做什么？
继承你。
Welcome back once again to the Hearthstone Global Invitational Finals. We are in the middle of the Europe versus China match, and as you've been discussing in chat, we've had a little bit of drama. So, Sotol, can you talk us through exactly what went on there?
I sure can, Lorinda. Yeah, you might have noticed we did take a little bit of an extended break there. There were some disconnect issues in the previous lobby. So good news, bad news situation, depending on whether you want to be glass half full or glass half empty. That game that we just saw, the one that was won by Dog in first place with Island Cat in second, that is not going to count towards the results because the decision was taken after consultation with the Chinese players because it was two Americas players that disconnected on turn 1. The Chinese players were happy for the regame to take place. So helpfully now our Chinese production team have shown you what the actual standings are. We have only played lobby number 1 at this point. Lobby number 2 was invalid, but the glass half full approach to that is you got to see an entire lobby of Battlegrounds that you wouldn't have got to see otherwise. So you're just getting straight up bonus content now, and we will move on, hopefully, now with no further issues.
Absolutely, it's been a clean day to this point as well, at least on the side of anything that can be controlled outside of Frozen falling asleep. So we're doing pretty well, and like you say, just in terms of if you're not bothered about the result and you just want to see high quality Battlegrounds, we're here for even more high quality Battlegrounds than we promised. Obviously the downside is if you're cheering strongly for Americas, which most of you seem to be, sorry, for China, which none of you seem to be, ignore me, just go. Let's talk about something else. I'm just talking absolute words.
I mean, I feel like if you are rooting for Americas, very little has changed because it hasn't seemed to have mattered how many times, how many lobbies they have to play, whether there's regames, whether there's issues or not. Americas just seems to be performing incredibly well. That collection of 4 players there, Dog, Slisser, Bill and Collins, have been putting in work this tournament. Shout out to the Chinese players for doing the honourable thing when offered and actually offering up the regame to the opponents. But they will be once again looking to get back on the grind. And Island Cat finds himself a Jandis. PF picks up the Cook. La 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 is on Nguyen, is on Panda, and we are going to see a Daryl coming out from Tao Tao as well.
So we're going to need to see how many tokens are in the lobby before we can decide. But we do have Sneed, Galakron, Diablo and Reno on the other side, all of which are also potential power spikes. And so this is going to be a brutal lobby. The people who get the good start in this one are going to be all over it.
Jandis token on 1, which means Island Cat is going to go for the goods here. And we will start to see, I was critical earlier of a different player for China taking a 3-drop early while on high health. So we will now get to see whether that is kind of a China meta thing or whether that was just an individual player decision in that spot as to what Island Cat does here with this first triple he picks up on Jandis. Did take a look at the bans. They are Demons, Mechs, and Beasts, which means this is only single token lobby for Island Cat on the Jandis, and he did hit it.
Like I say, you only need a single token, Sottle, and it all spirals out of control uncontrollably from there. And this Jandis is going to be probably a monster. In fact, having a look at those bans again, it does make the choice of 4 or 5 quite interesting, because conventional wisdom, quite often now with Beasts in, Jandis will still go for a 5, but with Beasts out, Island Cat will have a decision to make.
Yeah, with Beasts in, and if you are flipping the Beast token in particular, there does become a lot of value to taking a 5, right? Because you can actually just get persistent value out of a Mama Bear by continuing to flip that token for additional triples further down the line. But yes, you are right, with Beasts out is a very, very different beast. That wasn't even on purpose.
What the... Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, la, getting... What did he get there? Okay. Reset.
Picks up Refarm hero power and ends up killing absolutely nothing with it on that turn. So that is just 1 gold set on fire as he gets hit with the double Rockpool Hunter on the other side.
That's how Refarm always works.
Yep, no, very true.
Sottle's had to listen to me moan about Refarm just for 12 months or so. Nothing short.
PF seems to think there is a decision this turn. Okay, I was going to say, this is the decision that I would like to see, and it is the one he ends up going with. I do think you need a shop of significant power level to be not going to 3-on-3 with the Cook in this position. Hero powering the Elemental is perfect because it gives him the out for Smogger as well as Cyclone to be hitting a tier 3 Elemental. Does pick up the Smogger, so he gets a really strong board. For a character that has just gone 3-on-3, this is about as big a board as you're ever going to see. And this is the advantage of Cookie over Galewing, for example, is Galewing goes 3-on-3 and then is weak for a turn and is going to take damage and then gets to be very strong the turn afterwards, essentially looking for up to 3 drop minions in 1 turn, whereas Cookie gets to have that minion a whole turn earlier and might not even lose the fight when going to 3-on-3, which is a really big deal.
Yeah, I always feel that Galewing compared to Cookie arguments, Galewing does its thing when it's already stabilized. It's nice when it gets to higher drops, but I just like the early tempo, especially what we've seen from these lobbies over the last few days. You can't afford to be missing a turn or messing around. People will kill you very quickly if you do that. This is a nice board going into the Diablo turn. No taunt.
It is no taunt. Yeah, no taunt available is a big deal, though. It does mean that there is some scam potential on the other side. Dog has actually gone with a Bronze Warden early on here, which is something that I do tend to find quite surprising. Like, I know Bronze Warden is one of the cards that is the furthest possible above the power scale at the time that you can get it. Like, Bronze Warden on curve as a Tavern 3 minion is so strong in comparison to everything else that you can get. But is it a win condition? No, absolutely not. And I think going for a win condition with Galakron is something that I favor personally. But Dog deciding that he's going to divert here, just pick up some strength. And in this position, does get the support for Divine Shields immediately. Finding that Gem Splitter to go with the Bronze Warden is a very, very big deal indeed.
Yeah, and the gems to give Divine Shield to the second minion as well. Yes, he does get the gem. This was crucial that he got this 1 gem, right? Because now he can spiral out of control over the next few turns with double gems basically every turn. He can find a way to protect that splitter.
Yep, even cashes out the bonus gem from the Reborn on the Bronze Warden as well. So his slightly unconventional setup is going to work out pretty well for him, having found that scaling to go with it immediately. Interesting to see where he goes from here, though. Whether he looks to lean further into Quillbore synergy, looking for Agam, for example. Agam is considered a relatively weak win condition these days, but, Dog is leaning into that kind of angle. And with Mechs out, there's no route to pick up Greaseball spot, for example, to support the Divine Shield strategy instead. So very curious as to how Dog is going to build on that start into a potential win condition.
I feel like Tao Tao has been one of the lower scorers. Given that I said that about PF earlier, and he instantly wins the lobby, Tao Tao now may be the person who's in position of being a low scorer, and won't be low scoring in this lobby unless something extreme happens. Because Daryl, very good second, third place hero. We discussed that earlier, and he's got a decent minion to stick it on early here, so he's going to be set for some time without having to do anything special here. Is he going to do the whole one drop thing we saw Dog do? It looks very likely.
It does, yeah. He is at least on Shiny Curve so far. Whether or not he continues to level from this point, we will wait and see, or whether he's going to hang out on one, because he really hasn't activated too many dances yet either. Only that one dance on the Chroma Wing up until this point. The Sneed here does dodge the first attack of the Chroma Wing, meaning that some bonker value does get to come out. That bonker was a kind of a failed 4-drop triple from the Sneed, looking for potential win conditions, but just settling with a decent minion to go with instead. And he is now going to take a 50-50 to cut one more damage off the board. Does hit it on the right-hand side.
And second Chroma Wing. Sorry, talked over you. Sorry. There's second Chroma Wing in the shop. I think we might see him just go and do the same thing again. Very similar to what Dog did earlier. Although Dog did have the benefit of demons to get those extra health totals to buff those Chroma Wings up, and that is not available in this lobby.
By the way, now that we look at it, it looks very much like this was triple into a 3, right, from Island Cat, as he has the Money Pirate on the board. So maybe this is just the Chinese way with this hero, taking a 3 and then a 5. I am absolutely not changing my opinion on this. I do not like it, even though Island Cat, the player that we've thought has played very, very well, is now doing it. But clearly, it is a more common option for the Chinese players.
Collins wondering whether to wait one turn on this Light Fang. It's only a small buff for this turn if he does it, but he's down to 25, and he is going to need a little bit more time needed, right? If he takes 6 or 7 even here, it's not pretty for him. He might as well just get it over with.
It's
a 4/4 buff.
Livid about this hero power, I think. We've talked a lot about how generally jovial and upbeat and, laughing at everything that Collins tends to be, but this is absolutely not what he wanted to see. He is upset with the way this game is going now, as he's had to go with Golden Light Fang with a single tribe on board currently.
Yeah, and a beautiful Avenge-looking setup as well, with the double Scally and the Acolyte hanging about with, just wanted that Nestmate and off you go, but here he is, Light Fanging away. Into a huge deal turn as well. Did he golden that? I think he did.
He did,
He froze one in the shop, he hit the other.
He froze one in the shop and then was able to pick up the triple, probably dancing on both in the same shop and actually making one massive Chroma Wing in the end. And I love, as soon as I was saying, okay, Collins actually looks genuinely upset, he then immediately starts laughing at the situation again as well.
The reason that Chroma Wing is such a big deal in my mind is he's tier 1. Chroma Wing's going to get ridiculous with the health it has available to it over the next few turns. It's going to be unkillable and kill anything until somebody establishes some poison on the board.
Well, that's 1 minion down, 6 more to go for the Finley, because there's not a lot going on the rest of the board, that's for sure.
Yeah, Nest Matron. I can see an Acolyte. He's on 8, Sodom.
He is very much on 8, yes. Well observed.
It's turn 7. How can he be on 8? Well, I can tell you how he's on 8, because he's got a golden Scally on the board. I want to see how big these elementals are. 9/9, that seems okay.
Yeah, so 6 procs so far, which if you look at the board, he currently has 3 procs available on his board, right? So maybe he's just had this for 2 turns and he's been able to scale that through. He is going to pick up the Smogger, he is going to buff up the Lightspawn, he is going to keep the rest of the Avenge synergy. He really didn't have enough gold to spend to even get out of the milking board and into a strong board, even if he wanted to. So he's just going to have to shut his eyes and pray that his Jandis opponent is not strong. But how many times in your history of playing Battlegrounds has that hope worked out for you, Lorinda?
I mean, not many. Although my MMR, sometimes.
Okay.
Just from occasionally, you find a Jandis who's got, I don't know, nothing because they forgot to buy a minion or they disconnected or something. But yeah.
Please don't say disconnect. No, too soon.
Sorry.
Too soon.
Said the D word live on stream. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And just trying to look at it here. I don't think he can survive.
Go left. Oh, it does not
go
left. And that is meaning the Bagurgle is going to survive. That 5 damage being added in is going to mean death for Nguyen. Panda going to bite the dust, and that is going to be La 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 on Panda going down in 8th place there. Seeing if anyone else went down with them, but I don't think that is going to be the case with how quickly La 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 was eliminated from that lobby. Yeah, absolutely not. And now, attention over to Slisser. It is murderboard time. And we will see how big Slisser can get on this turn to be able to take down as many of those players as she can. Remember, damage cap off, deactivated by that death from the La 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 on the previous turn. So if she can make murderboard here, she might be able to do some serious damage to the remainder of this lobby.
Yeah, she's got to have both things in her mind, right? Because she's got a good chance here to set up a nice longer-term Murloc thing, but with a 13-13 with a whole handful of prizes, if she can do what I think only Radu and Collins have really done and had a game-destroying turn 8.
Mm-hmm.
She's just going. Oh, Murlocs, they're pretty big. They're pretty poisony. Taunt would be nice of any description.
Oh, Necrolite is a nice clutch little pickup here.
Wow.
She managed to defend that SI Sephin by stealing all the value off of the Quillbore there, getting that repeated value from those extra blood gem procs. Big, big deal indeed. And now she's going to load up on all this loot, make her board as strong as possible, and she will just hand over to the AI fights and see how many of these players she can take down. And if she's favored against this Jandis, I think she's in pretty good shape in the lobby overall.
Yeah, reminder to everyone there is a 10-10 to add on top of this and the secret at the end. So lots of murdering coming up here.
One proc on the Sephin as well, and it goes on the highest health minion, which means now that Sephin is probably able to take down this entire board state single-handedly. Yes, it can. Where does this last attack go? It goes right! So the treasure at the very least is denied, but the damage is going to still come through. 12 of it, in fact. The Jandis survives, but did anyone else bite the dust on this turn? No, everyone dodges.
But look at the health bars. Everybody's on like 4 and 7 and 2. Apart from the Galakron, which was dog with that weird but amazing early gem splitter setup on turn 3 or 4 that we last saw him on. Collins rewarded, by the way, for taking his Golden Light Fang, I suspect, because he's on 2. And it seems pretty unlikely that any other course of action would have done any better that quickly.
Yeah, there was no shot, right? Like, we joined him a few seconds late. We didn't get to see what the decision was that led to him having a Light Fang on the board, but I imagine if a Light Fang was taken and then goldened in that position, the other two options were just not win conditions, right? Like, absolutely by no regard. So there was probably no decision to be made there for Collins. He just took the only one that offered scaling, and then he cashed out his hero power yet again. That is a really, really tough skill to walk the tightrope in Battlegrounds between recognizing how long you can be greedy and look for better win conditions and when you just play to outlive one person, right? Like, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your friend so the bear gets them first. That's how the situation works in Battlegrounds.
One of Sottle's favourite tactics in life as well as in Battlegrounds.
Just throw whoever I'm with to the wolves immediately in every situation, yes.
Raven has so many bear marks all over.
True.
Alright, Tao Tao has got into a very strong looking position. No surprise on the Daryl. One slip and he dies, but the slip seems like it gets some way off. Slisser could probably take care of this board, but not many other people.
Yeah, Slisser is previously engaged over on the other side against a huge cookie board on the other side. Her Murlocs, not enough procs of the Sephine have gone off yet, so she doesn't have enough poisons to be able to take care of this board state just yet. So PF does end up pushing some damage against Slissa. The Jandis does bite the dust to this massive Daryl board as well. So now that is Island Cat and La going out in 8th and 7th place. This is starting to look like a very, very dire situation for Team China in this one.
Yeah, if Island Cat goes down in 7th place, so he's 8th and 7th in the 2 ones that count. And we said at the start, Island Cat can't afford to be down there. It's going to be up to the rest of the team once again. But PF was looking pretty good. Tao Tao's looking pretty good. This one is not over. They're not going to, almost certainly not going to gain points in this lobby, but they can still restrict the damage to make the 3rd lobby very exciting indeed.
Oh, Dog has converted this position so nicely. I raised the question early on as how do you build Bronze Warden Gem Splitter into something that can win the lobby? Answer, pretty much exactly like this. Golden Selfless triple into the pig, 10 blood gems a turn because you have the golden gem splitter on your side, and he also has the ground shaker now with all this divine shield synergy because he has 4 divine shields between the 2 natural ones that he has access to and that selfless hero going off. Maybe he'll be going up looking for Baron in this position. Actually, he already has a Baron in his hand that I'm not even taking notice of, so he is in a really, really good spot to be able to bring this one home from here.
Yeah, and what he's going to do here is hold on to, I assume, the pig as long as possible before having to play the Baron. He's in no pressure at all to do so, and he will be hoping to just get as much out of this pig as he can so that when he does eventually switch the gems onto the divine shields, it will be ginormous, I think is the official word in the dictionary.
Yeah, 100% agree. The pig just has squatter's rights right now, right? It's just holding on to a spot until it vacates the premises to make room for that Baron to come in and finish out the comp. And until then, Dog is just going to gobble up this Divine Shield synergy as best he can. He wants to dodge. He wants that... Oh, okay, never mind. I was about to say he wants that Gem Splitter attack to be going into the right-hand side, but the attacks go for him, and he is going to milk maximum value out of those blood gems before the Gem Splitter bites the dust. And with that pig surviving as well, that is going to be, what, 1 off lethal this turn? 11 damage going through to the Diablo.
Tao Tao survives. We didn't see the fight, we didn't follow the fight because we were watching the other one. But he survives with a 1/3 imp as Daryl, which seems like the least likely result you're ever going to get on this hero.
And then that is Collins Reno going down in 6th place. First America's player to be eliminated from the lobby. That's China 8th, China 7th, America's 6th so far, the way this is panning out. But this Daryl is going to have to go somewhere very special very quickly if it's going to compete with Dog's board, for example, because this is the kind of board for Tao Tao that gets absolutely smoked by Divine Shields on the other side, right? Like 159-39. If that cracks into a 39 attack Divine Shield, you don't need to be a rocket scientist or the son of one, Lorinda, to be able to work out where that one is going to lie.
This is going to be a crucial fight on the right-hand side. PF is established. He's got the Hogger. I know it's not a golden. He's also getting the blood gems, obviously, but he's up against Dog and he's on 2 health. If he survives this fight, he's got great things in his future, but I think Dog is likely just too big for him already.
Yeah, imagine surviving this fight. Interesting, by the way, that PF is munching on Peggies and not planning to buy them here. Okay, he does pick up the other one, because if you are going minimal Hoggers plus Flat Tusk, having Peggies to support that is actually a ton of stats, because obviously every blood gem that you generate is a card that enters your hand. So the way the Peggy is written, you do get the +1/+1 buff for those.
Imagine surviving against Dog. Right,
I know.
Have a look at the left.
Yeah, it's not close. Dog wins, lol, is the way that this fight is panning out. So on the left-hand side, these dragons are looking for some value trades, but they are, again, probably a little bit vulnerable to the strategy of Sneed as well, right? Because there's not high health on enough dragons. It's a very glass cannon build, so these persistent death rattles from the Sneed should have a decent edge in this spot. But this swing is huge, and that's not the way he wanted it to go. But the 5-drop death rattle is big enough from the Sneed in the end to be able to push the lethal. Sneed eliminates Daryl, and that means that after a valiant effort, the Daryl Tao Tao is going to go down in third place then.
So it is Dog and Bill?
WTY Bill is the Sneed, yeah. Good old witty Bill, who it seems like we haven't checked in with for a while. But guess what, folks? We invalidated a lobby. We ran a lobby back all the way from the beginning just to have Dog and Bill crush everyone. Normal service has been resumed.
Interesting there on Dog. Maybe I'm slightly misunderstanding how he completes this build. He did go past a Necrolite, which I thought would be a good thing for him to be picking up. But it looks, now I'm looking more carefully, like he's already done the thing, so he didn't need another one.
Yeah, I think also on this board state at the moment, what does he sell to get the board space for the Necrolite through, right? Like, there's nothing that he can recycle out and then recycle something back in. Like, you'd need a second Baron in your hand before you even think about doing that, I think. So I would agree, just cycling through, looking for more pairs and more triples is probably the only effective thing that Dog has left to spend gold on at this point.
By the way, everybody just take a screenshot of this and pin it to your wall, if that's how screenshots work. Dog is floating 2 gold. I don't know if I've ever seen him do that on purpose.
Yeah, strictly illegal, right? Pheno use all. Don't sure if that really applies to Battlegrounds in this position. But, as I was saying, he doesn't really have any ways left this game to effectively spend gold because of the fact that he's functionally board locked. So, I mentioned the only real effective thing he has to spend gold on are pairs and triples. So, locking a triple in the shop for 5 gold is actually arguably gold efficient with the way that Dog's game is breaking down at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it is a game about it. How much does this thing cost, and is it worth it? And sometimes a lot of gold is still worth it. At the end of the game, you roll 9 times looking for the exact one card that saves you, etc. So, yeah. It looks like Dog's just going to end it here. I haven't seen any hits that have gone Bill's way in this very unfavoured matchup for him.
Yep, still a ton of stats left over, still Divine Shields left over that are taking care of the poisons as well. Yep, no, could not be going any better. Every single Divine Shield just takes care of a poison, leaving maximum damage hanging around on the board, and that is going to be 4, 7, 11, 14, 19 damage going through to the face. That is going to be a lobby win for Dog. It's going to be a lobby win for Americas. It's going to be a 1-2 for Americas, and it's going to be Americas in a extremely dominant position going into our final lobby. After our unfortunate regame, I think America's position improved, so they will be certainly very thankful that the ruling was passed down, that the regame was allowed, because they had a significantly better lobby there in the regame than they did in the original iteration.
I'm going to frame this differently, because that's how I do things. If that had been Game 3, America's just won the title.
True. Yeah.
But now China get another shot at staying in it. So it's going to work out in a sort of fair way, I think.
It's funny how the way that you present information tends to affect people's outlooks on life, isn't it, Lorinda? It's almost as if words have significant power. But yes, there will be now one more lobby. If you are following, in case you missed the update in the middle, but you are vaguely aware of the fact that we've now played 3 Battlegrounds lobbies and don't understand what's going on, the second lobby was invalidated because 2 of the Americas players disconnected on turn 1. Even though the lobby was played out into completion, there was just kind of some delay on the ruling being passed down, so that lobby was stricken from the record. The first lobby that we played and the lobby that has just finished, those are the 2 that are counting toward the standings right now, and both of those lobbies were big positives for Americas overall, which means they're going to be in super good shape going into this final lobby now.
Yep, I am going to call it. I think they're 12 points ahead. We will wait for the official numbers, but I think that the Americas are going to have a 12-point lead going into this last lobby, which we know can be done, and it has been done to Americas by China in this tournament, but it was lobby 1 of day 1, which seems, I don't know, 80 hours or something ago now. So there we do have the confirmation of this lobby being 23-14. And so I think that does mean 9 plus 3 is 12.
Yeah, Bill and Dog putting up big numbers yet again, and Lorinda He's absolutely nailed it, folks. What an utter legend. 12-point lead for Team Americas over Team China. That is going to have to be an enormous reversal. Again, if you want some context, just look back at round 2. That was a stomp for Americas. That was an Americas 1-2, and it was only a 9-point swing in the scoring. China need a 12-point swing just to take this to a 4th game of Battlegrounds to decide the entire tournament at this point. Again, if a tie occurs at this point, then we will see where things go from that position. But I will cross that bridge when we come to it, as the idiom goes. But as the idiot goes, Lorinda, what do you have to say?
I'm really annoyed that you cut my line off of "don't call me that" I've used every time on you. You've learned. Every time idiom is used in a sentence, I'm going to take the opportunity. Stealing my joke since 2014, ladies.
This is the worst narrative you've ever come up with, honestly, this idea.
If I say it enough times, everyone will believe it.
It's true. It's almost as if presenting information in a different way actually has huge power. Huge power over the way that people feel. It's almost like words have great power indeed. But we are just waiting for this final lobby to get into. We have got word we're operating on a delay behind live, and we have got word that in real time, in the future, the lobby has begun, so we should not be waiting too long to be able to get into this lobby here. In fact, if I know my transitions by this point, and I do, there is a lobby summoned as if by magic.
Okay. That was pretty powerful. This is a pretty powerful set of heroes. If China are going to get it done, this isn't the worst lineup to do it with.
Yeah, I await tribe information before I tell you where I stand with George right now, because I do think George can be hit or miss in certain situations. Slissa going Zyrella over Gallywix. Gallywix is a pet hero for some, but is also very tribe dependent. Murlocs are in, as we can now see. That is crucial. Dog on the Mali. If this is double token lobby, which it is, Murlocs and Beasts in, I actually think Mali is a very, very solid pick in specifically Murlocs plus Beasts lobby, which Dog finds himself in. Dog already got to play Hook Tusk, so why not have a budget Hook Tusk game now as well?
Seems fair enough. I'm almost certain, although it has been a while, that Slissa took exactly Zyrella over Gallywix earlier on when they had a huge lead.
Yeah, it does make sense as well, right? Because Zyrella is a more solid pick, whereas Galley is a feast or famine pick, and we've talked about this a lot. China are very much attackers and America's defenders in this position. If Americas can creep towards 4ths and 5ths in this lobby, they'll be in fantastic spots, whereas China absolutely have to fire for that 1, 2, 3 in the lobby at the very least.
Let's have a look what Slissa has been rewarded or presented with, and it looks pretty good. Just a typical Zyrella token start, but that's good enough.
Yep, any token start with Zyrella gives you all the options in the world. You get Jeef Curve available to you. You kind of get this adapted cheating Jeef Curve available to you as well if you find a second token where you can do it all on turn 2 and kind of skip that extra turn going into the 5 gold turn that Jeef Curve generally involves. You can also stick with Shiny Curve and just stay on 1 for a very, very long time, picking up those likely triples by staying on tab and 1. Even with Zyrella, even though it's an option that's kind of out of vogue at the moment, Zyrella's actually really good at cheating levels and power leveling as well in a sort of Omu Yasharaj style thing, right? The fact that she can add a minion to her board for 2 gold every turn does allow her to cheat some levels if she really wants to, but that is not a particularly popular strategy these days, I would say.
No, just a very base way to start that off, though. You know, on turn 5, you can have a 3 gold level and a 2 gold minion. That should make it clear how good that hero power is in the early game, where the extra 1 gold is a huge percentage of what you're doing. In the same way that Yogg used to be pretty strong just because it could get extra minions and stuff. But now everybody gets extra minions, so it's drifted down quite a lot.
Yeah, I often wonder about those very early days of Battlegrounds when we were, you know, oh yeah, Yogg seems strong or whatever. Like, the data wasn't really out at that point. We didn't really have tracking to support these things. So I do often wonder whether the fact that we thought that like Yogg was really good, Curator was really good, all of that kind of stuff, were we just wrong? Was like just no one keeping stats accurately enough to actually represent? Because I remember when was it Just Saiyan got into Battlegrounds extensively, he kept track of every curator he saw in all of his lobbies for like the course of several weeks, and the average position for curator, even back then when everyone's theory was that curator was a top tier hero, was really, really bad based on the data that Saiyan accumulated. So I do often wonder about those early days of Battlegrounds and how miserably wrong about everything we all were.
I'd have to go back and watch 1,000 VODs. Actually, what am I saying? I'm the guy who'll be asked to do it. No, we're never getting stats on the early days of Battlegrounds.
Stats boy! Get to work!
Neil, keep your mouth shut. Just one time. Right. La la la. We see this start a lot at the moment, which is sort of Sauralisk plus stuff to stay alive, right? Sauralisk, a pretty underrated minion, I think, in most medium to low MMRs, just for doing exactly that.
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly on Diablo, the Sauralisk is just one of the quickest things that you can dump stats on early in the position. But I do think that Bill here in this spot has a couple of Divine Shields. He has the Reborn Taunt, the Acolyte, to be able to defend that demon on the far right as well. So I think he will end up cashing out a good amount of loot here. It might not be the full hand. He is a little bit weaker than we have been seeing from various other boards at this state in the game, but I think he will still have himself a platform to build on. Meanwhile, as we go over into the split screen, Dog on the right-hand side has picked up the Golden Jesse, as I will refer to it in tribute to Dog himself, and he is just holding onto it in hand. Interesting to see how many stats that actually is that he is holding onto in his hand right now, because he is choosing to greed for that more expensive triple.
Yep, it's going to take quite a lot of damage, but again, damage is meaningless in the moment until things resolve. Very interesting high-tempo lobby, actually, because we are seeing, again, the Xyrella and the Malygos and the Diablo all with really fast token-looking starts. Gone very wide, and it might be about who gets something really good from their triples, and Dog is going to be the person with the most shots at that.
I think he will be waiting here. That was actually awkward because, so Dog is on Shiny Curve here, which involves the double level on 7 gold, as I've talked about on several occasions. However, if you don't hit a Pirate to discount the Tavern tiers by at least 1, you do have to sell a minion on that 7 gold turn to make the double level happen. So even though Dog hit what was looking to be a very nice pair off his hero power, saving him the 3 gold that he needs to spend on the other Quillbot in the shop, he was actually trying to hero power into something to sell, most importantly there in that position, right? Like Sun Bacon Relaxer, for example, would have been one of his best hits in that position. Ended up instead having to sell his Icky Imp, which he was grimacing about because he's trying to set up for revenge scaling in that position, right? So the Icky Imp is actually one of the best minions he has on his board to do that. Ends up with Greasebot instead, which does go with the Divine Shield build that he's putting together very nicely.
Look at Collins and what he's doing, though. He's just got a whole handful of triples, and he's just going to go as high as he can. I didn't see what Tavern tier he's on, but he's going to be on 1 higher any second now.
Yeah, 1 higher, if not 2, in the way this is going to go down. This is something that I really picked up first from watching XQN when XQN first started streaming. I think one of the things that people getting to watch XQN's gameplay really gave to the community was this hyper-aggressive brand curve, because XQN is famous for doing these kinds of things where he pushes Tavern 1 even longer than Shiny Curve in a lot of positions, staying on Tavern 1 through turn 8, turn 9, really greeding a bunch of Murloc triples and token triples in general in his hand to go along with that brand, and then basically tries to play it Shudderwock style, where he explodes into a full board of 5 or 6 drops, leveraging that damage cap. Collins not quite being that greedy, but it's a very, very similar idea with the early brand curve.
Got to make the decision. He's on 21, whether he really wants to just push the damage cap or actually do something about his health total now. And I think doing something about it now might be wise, because he's going to need a little bit of time to get the Bran actually active as well.
You couldn't make me take these triples this turn.
I'm such a...
Just you try it.
Oh, that's enough stuff. I'm happy now I've seen the board. Yep.
It's pretty big, right?
Holding on. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with this wholeheartedly. I think Collins can afford to be a little bit greedy here, right? Like the crucial thing is like Bran hands you the win condition, right? Bran is a soft win condition. It's not a hard carry that some other things can be, but it means that Bran in particular does not have to go looking for elemental carries, for example, in an elemental lobby. So I think the idea of greeding out a little bit more and looking for those higher tier minions, picking up the Gurgles, picking up second copies of Bran, looking for that golden Bran further down the line, pushing the Tavern tiers up, looking for eventual Amalgadons, because we've seen every Bran board that we've seen be very successful to the point of actually getting into the top 2 has involved hitting those Amalgadons for the Divine Shield poison to really carry things through. So I really, really like, from what we have seen of Collins playing this game, I love the way that he has played it so far.
Slitter there, taking the full 15 on Xyrella, losing a 50-50 to get an extra card at the end from the Doomsayer as well. So that was a very unfortunate turn for her, or a bad turn, whichever way you want to look at it, how it turned out. Either way, not where she wanted it to go, but she did run into somebody who had just powered up.
What are those? The triples from Collins. He got offered Snake twice, Kangors twice, and then the only thing he really got passed alongside that was the Battle Master, but very quickly his tongue-out look of disgust has transformed into a little fist pump dance as he finds an additional triple this turn. Surely he can't brick on 5s again, can he?
How do you feel now?
This is why you don't take 5s, kids. 5 drops, not even
not
once.
Not even once.
It's so bad.
Yeah, that should be early enough, Battlemaster, to buy him one more turn of stuff, but it's not a good card right now.
Yeah, the Battlemaster's okay. Freezing the Seer in the shop is fine as well. Weirdly, he's put together the makings of a scuffed Beast comp, even though he's full Murlocs with a Rattler and Baron in hand and a Parrot frozen in the shop, but I don't imagine for a second we'll see him going down that route anywhere soon. He does seem to have the George very nicely covered in this position, though, which I think will be a relief to him. Something that we haven't talked about in general is that playing Murlocs in itself is a little bit sketchy in a mech lobby, because the big Omega Buster Baron boards will make a mess of your SI Sethin Divine Shields that you have on the other side, right? However, Bran does have a little bit of a license to still go Murlocs, because Bran, clues in the name, is guaranteed the Bran. So where other people who go Murlocs might just end up with low health poison scam, Bran being Bran means that Bran can just always get those big health buffs down, double up the Seer buffs, double up the Lookout buffs, make sure that it's huge Murlocs with poison that also come down as well. That has a chance to actually compete with Divine Shield mechs on the other side.
Bill correctly pushing his luck to the maximum to go into this second bar brawl, and he has got a whole lot of stuff going on in hand, but another triple is going to be absolutely crucial. The triple he's just picked up, if he's going to stay alive here. The thing is, he doesn't just need to stay alive, he actually needs to beat a considerable number of these, otherwise he's just going to fold under the pressure of no hero power.
Bill just hitting all of Collins' triples here. These are the options that Collins looked for 3 times and did not find any of. In the meantime, Tao Tao also tripled into a 5 and found a Bran, which I think Collins would have been happier with over basically any of the discovers that he saw there off 3 triples either, just to have the Bran pair in hand.
Tao Tao does have that natural grease spot scaling going on, which, you know, nice, simple for George. Just pick a grease spot, off you go. But again, the minions aren't particularly large just yet. He might just be in time, but he's got a low health total. And going into this Bill board with the extra 10, this might be awkward. I don't think he had a 10 attack minion in there.
This, if we switch focus over to the right-hand side as well, this is interesting positioning going on from Slissa right now. She has the Omega Buster, but the Omega Buster is hidden all the way over to the right because currently the Omega Buster is actually not offering too much value in terms of buffing mechs and buffing Divine Shields, but it is offering a lot of potential tank value because of the 5/1/1s that it can drop out here. So she's putting it in a position where she's actually going to maximize the 1/1s instead of using it for its more common purpose, which is a good little spot for Slissa to have made it.
Trying to keep an eye on how both these are going at once, and that is not a smart move from me. But the main one for Bill here is looking a little shaky. So many beasts. Look at those drops from the Sneeds as well. 21-21's going to get this done unless something terrifying happens to go wrong.
Yeah, Bird Person still absolutely farming as well, pumping those stats up. There are still the demons to be summoned, but I don't think we're going to be seeing demons that can contest a 25-24 on the other side of the board. Who would win this massive army of Sneeds, Death Rattles, or one demon-y boy? Answer the Sneed.
And that is an Americas player in 8th place. Which is exactly the equation China need, and it's the Diablo which could have just ended the game at any point, especially on this turn. Nobody else dying. That's a big, big deal for China if they're going to get this one done.
It absolutely is, yeah. Bill goes down. So Dog's partner in crime, Dog's accountability, if you will, has bitten the dust in this position, and that means that China has a ray of hope, but it is just a ray at this point. There is still not the massive beams of sunshine that they are looking for to take this one home.
PF got the health to continue to abuse the Avenge, though. It's in an okay spot. It's not particularly easy to keep everything alive. Just got to trust a little bit to things going your way in the fights, but it's looking good. Island Cat with a second tank. He should be staying alive a bit longer on the back of that as well. And there's a lot of low health people in the lobby once again. We've had a few lobbies really today where out of the blue is suddenly heads up or three-handed.
Yeah, this one could accelerate very, very quickly from this position indeed. Looking over at PF, he is still just pretty much slaying out max tempo on the Sneed. Triple Avenge setup as well on Sneed, one of the few heroes that can probably support that level of Avenge. He has Bird Buddy, Green Thumb, and the Witchwing all together on the same board trying to make things happen.
Yeah, and he's intending to keep it that way by the look of that positioning as well. The Green Thumb doing the work to make the other two continue to be valid on the board as actual fighting forces as well as Avenge forces.
Yeah, continuing to keep an eye on the right here, just trying to look at the breakpoints for the tank. That high main getting buffed up out of range is a big deal, but the next shot... Okay, no! Oh, that attack was so huge. Okay, the attack from Zyrella went into the Bird Buddy, but let it survive at 1 HP, which actually pulled it out of range of the tank shot being able to come through and actually saved PF a significant amount of health, if not won the fight, and the tank is back from the Death Rattle!
This was Slissa looking to knock PF out as Tao Tao does succumb on the other side. But this fight went pretty crazy over the other side.
It really did. That is a huge outcome, though, with the tank respawn off the Death Rattle, meaning that he cut so much damage away from that loss. That is 10 damage in a world where he could have taken 30 plus. There was a chance of lethal that turn, and I believe he was well below the actual true average in terms of what he was expected to take that turn.
Yeah, he must have been, because those drops were... It wasn't just the tank, it was the ordering and everything of where everything fell. It just looked absolutely nutty. And that's going to limit his options, or sorry, it's going to open his options for one more turn if he's brave enough and if he thinks he can get away with it, that he wouldn't have had even if he'd taken, I don't know, another 6 damage.
In the meantime, however, George has been defeated, which is a China representative, I believe, who has gone down here. So that was Tao Tao, right. So that means that it's one player from each side, and the very slim chance of China being able to get out of this one is starting to melt away. They will need to continue manifesting as hard as they can from this spot, but it is looking more and more unlikely with each passing turn.
La trying to turn these battle masters into something that aren't just 5/29s that don't do much. I suspect we'll see some gems go on one of them just to turn it into an attacking force. Nope, he's just going full buffs, obviously. I didn't even see the ground shaker because it had taunt and my brain didn't process it. So this is obviously better.
Getting through every turn on the ground shaker is going to be important, but he doesn't actually have the generation to be able to support this long term, right? So he's going to run out of gas pretty soon if he's not able to put something together. Take a look at what is going on in Murloc country. That is a giant poison Swolefin, but honestly, not really a lot else going on for the Bran over there. This is looking very much like it could be a win for La in this spot, depending on where this poisonous attack goes for him.
Yeah, it's giving him +0/+0 at the moment, the poison.
8-9, 8-1 now, that can attack into anything, and there is still the poison remaining on the board, which means this is going to be a dub for La. But actually, my eyes go up. It says he is only a 15% shot in that fight, whereas to my eyeballs, he looked like he was going to be okay. It did end up panning out that way, but the stats say that he was a big underdog in that one.
Yeah, I think the danger of the second poison was the problem there, but it never emerged from the 7. Were to maybe swing it against him. PF down to 4. Somebody went down there. That
was the Bran. We watched
Bran, which is Collins. Yeah.
Yep.
So China's still in with a chance. I feel like nobody's had a comp. We haven't seen Dog for a while, and he seems to be just not taking damage. And he was on that Malygos start. So I suspect Dog is actually sitting pretty. He's nearly caught up on Tavern Tears, but I suspect he's just fine. Because they are going to need a saviour, and it might be Dog in this spot.
Yeah, it could be any one of them. That is Zyrella, Slisser on the Zyrella, Dog on the Mali in terms of the Americas representative. All it really takes is for one of them to have a good result, and by a good result, I mean not being the next to die. I think China, if they're going to have any shot, need to be able to take a 1-2-3 from this position, and even then I think we have some question marks over how that one has panned out. But every position that Americas can creep up this leaderboard brings them ever closer and closer to ending what has been an absolute marathon of a tournament with a victory. And if anyone is going to walk away with this feeling joy at the end of it all, I think it will be the winners, because a nice check in your pocket and the feeling of victory does go a long way to changing your mood.
No, absolutely. And Dog's had some, I mean, a lot of the players have had some adventures in this tournament, but Dog was playing from goodness knows where on day number 2. Having the rearranged schedule, he had to sort of book into somewhere that had internet to play. Remember that Luna stepped in and performed admirably in that as well. All the Americas players have chipped in, and without Monsanto, maybe they wouldn't even have got to play this Battlegrounds match and have it mean anything.
Yeah, and I will say that the China players have done admirably in terms of sportsmanship, whether or not you agree with the fact that the option has even been presented to them in the first place. On every port of call when they've been asked, like, hey, we switched the schedule and Dog's actually on a plane right now, is it okay if Luna plays for Americas instead? China have gone, yep, absolutely no problem. And they did get to have a little bit of that good karma paid back, as actually one of their players suffered a very unfortunate injury, a very serious injury, one that required surgery as well. And the other teams were then quite happy to say, well, you have been super cool to us throughout this entire tournament, so go ahead and find yourself a replacement.
Yeah, and even down to the officiating as well, the 5-point penalty after they had the warning for the skins and stuff. That could easily have just not been applied because it was a very sort of last-minute rule about the skins anyway. It was only raised by one of the players sort of the day before, so I don't think there was an official penalty in place, and that ended costing them a point as well in that group stage. So,
how much is that? That's 17! The double 5-drop, and that is Dog biting the dust as the Malygos. He goes full stank face in response to that. He is going to bite the dust in 4th place, but Zyrella and Slissa survive. Slissa has made it to top 3, and I think if my internal count has kept things on par, Slissa surviving here has done just about enough to lock this one down for Americas.
Yeah, they do have that 12-point lead, and I'm pretty sure that Slissa just hanging in there with this Zyrella that started off okay, but really, like everybody else, never really went anywhere, has got this done. And as she has been the team manager, the team mum, the team everything, part of the carry involved in this Battlegrounds team throughout this tournament, I think it's quite fitting that Slissa is going to be the one who gets the final points that lock in the victory.
Yeah, Slissa shared the happy news with us some time ago that she is expecting at this point, and you have to say there is no greater training for being a first-time mother than looking after a group of Hearthstone players, because they are the biggest set of children I've ever met in my life.
I mean, she's already had to send lunch to somebody today, so she's
literally
get better training.
She delivered a pack lunch to a player on her team. That genuinely happened.
So amusing. Right, can she lock it out though with the W, or is it just going to be the 3rd place? Again, I don't think anyone's going to care too much in terms of bragging rights because they're going to win the tournament, but I'm sure Slissa would like to finish it off with a win. Doesn't look like she's going to be able to get through this 1347, or at least the tanks are going to be absorbed significantly by that.
Yeah, the tank shots are a big deal, but she still has a lot of stats of her own still yet to be churned out with that Omega Buster Kangor's interaction coming back up. So this is just actually a lot of raw trading power. She's not a pure tank build. So she, even though the tanks are now biting the dust, she still has a big old stack of stats left over, and she still has the potential at any spot for infinite mech roll, no matter what happens from this point onwards, if the attacks do end up going back and forwards perfect.
But PF is on Sneed, so we do have to just watch as well as speculate. It reminds me of casting Yogg-Saron in regular Hearthstone back in the day, where you just sit and see what occurs.
Okay, big deal. The shields did bounce back and forwards once with the mech rolls, but then they did bite the dust, which I believe means that no matter what happens here... Okay, actually, the fact that the 4/4s go first there was a big deal, because there was a 4-drop respawn death rattle on there, which would have been taking up space with the Baron. But in the end, 5 drops going to pop out of this Baron. That's going to be a comfortable lethal. That is going to be Slissa going down. That is going to be Chinese players taking down the 1-2 in this spot, I believe. However, I don't think it's going to be good enough. And in fact,
Ghost.
The other Chinese player falls to the Ghost. PF takes down the lobby. We have reached the end of our Battlegrounds proceedings, and that means we have reached the end of the tournament, and I believe that Americas are going to be champions in waiting here, awaiting official confirmation from our Chinese side admins.
And incredibly, at the start of the broadcast, I said that if China are going to have a chance here, PF is going to have to pull his weight that he hasn't really been doing. He's won 2 lobbies, Sottle, and it looks like it wasn't enough. The rest of the team were actually folding around him today in his final.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here using my incredible powers of observation that our local Chinese venue have in fact confirmed that Americas have won this tournament. I don't know whether it was the confetti, the trophy, the giant eagle, the giant 30-foot word champion in the background that gave it away, but I have the distinct impression that Americas have won this tournament.
I'm going to have to trust your powers of deduction at this late hour. But it sounds a convincing case.
Lorinda, if we've learned anything in major Hearthstone tournaments, it's that confetti going off does not actually signal the end of anything.
Especially if Frozen's on your team.
Exactly, yeah. But yes, congratulations to the Americas team, Mercenaries, Constructed, and Battlegrounds. But I think, of course, special commendation goes over to that Battlegrounds team for charging through the entire event undefeated, smacking down all challengers one by one as they rose up, and just really putting on an exhibition of high-level competitive tournament lobby Battlegrounds. I think it was a very clear golfing quality between the teams that were put on the table for Americas and the teams that were put on the table for everyone else. But I chose my words very carefully there, Lorinda, because this is an invitational. This is not an open field, and I think there are still scores to be settled across all disciplines as to which region is going to assert dominance long term.
Well, obviously, as a non-Americas caster, you're going to say that. I think, and I have made this clear in the past, that sample sizes of 1 are plenty, invitational or not. And this means that Americas is the best region in all of Hearthstone across all disciplines. And it's unarguable at this point.
Go back to your friend TJ, Lorinda, where you might have some...
where are you?
You might have some sympathy for your ridiculous pro-Americas beliefs. Come on.
What other tournaments have this year, or in the last couple of years, have had all of the regions playing on a level playing field and had a...
Sorry, level playing field? Are you sure you want to die on that hill?
I'll tell Gabby if you go down this road too far.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but no, honestly... Yeah, memes aside, congratulations. I think America's put in a fantastic performance. It wasn't just Battlegrounds, the Mercenaries team and the Constructed team put in a ton of work as well. Special shout out to Monsanto in particular, who had a crushing performance. And once again, you know, rivalry aside, memes aside, bias aside, Monsanto is one of the best players in the world. Monsanto is good enough to be European. That's how good he is at Hearthstone. So, ton of respect for him as a constructed player. He put in an absolute shift in this tournament. The Battlegrounds team just kept on marching. The Mercenaries team picked up the points here and there, and it all spelled victory for Americas in the end. Congratulations. Great performance from the team overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And although we sort of projected this finish, you don't play on paper is always the cliche we use, and they've just tidied it up, finished off as expected, like you would expect. That isn't always how it works out. Also want to just have a slightly extended finish, but only a few seconds, to shout out all of the players, all of the people who sort of kept this together through some of the early days of the tournament. There were a lot of issues to sort out regarding venue switches and stuff. So, you know, all of the people who made this happen, the other casters, Sottle keeping me sort of hanging on in there, all that good stuff. And I also want to shout out our producer, who was putting on some English overlays and stuff for you, despite working 1 million hours a day. So thanks, Matt, for that. But from me, from Sottle, from all of the production teams all over the place, and the other casters, that is the end of the Hearthstone Global Invitational, and we will see you very soon for the Masters Tour.